The call came at midnight, just as I was reviewing the quarterly reports. Your brother lost everything, Mom's voice cracked. The trust fund, it's gone. I'm Faith, and I've spent my entire life cleaning up after my brother's messes. Tonight would be different. Tonight would be the last time. How much? I asked, already reaching for my emergency whiskey. $2 million. He was at the Grand. Said he had a system. Mom's sob caught in her throat. Faith, honey, I don't know what to do anymore. I closed my eyes, remembering the day Dad split our inheritance. Take care of each other, he'd said from his hospital bed. Tate had nodded solemnly, squeezing Dad's hand. 2 weeks later, he bought a yacht. Where is he now? I asked, though I already knew. Tate would be at Jimmy's bar, drowning his sorrows in expensive scotch while planning his next foolproof scheme. He won't answer his phone. Faith, please. I'll handle it, I said, grabbing my keys. The same words I'd been saying since we were kids, and Tate would break Mom's precious collectibles playing indoor baseball. The neon sign of Jimmy's bar flickered against the rain-slicked streets. Inside, Tate's broad shoulders hunched over the bar, his designer suit wrinkled and stained. Let me guess, I said, sliding onto the stool beside him. The cards were marked. The dealer was cheating. The stars weren't aligned. Tate's bloodshot eyes met mine in the mirror behind the bar. You don't understand, Faith. I was so close. One more hand and I could have doubled it all. That's what you said last time, and the time before that. I signaled the bartender. Water for him, coffee for me. I don't need a lecture, Tate growled. I need a loan. No. Come on, sis. You've got access to the company accounts. Just a temporary... Stop. My voice cut through his plea like a blade. I'm not touching the business accounts. That money isn't yours to gamble away. Dad would have wanted you to act like the heir he raised you to be. The words exploded out of me, years of frustration finally breaking through. Instead, you're sitting here, reeking of failure and cheap cologne, plotting how to waste more of his legacy. Tate's fist slammed against the bar. You think you're so perfect? Little Faith, always doing everything right. You know what? Dad gave me that money because he trusted me more than you. A laugh escaped me, bitter and sharp. Is that what you tell yourself? He gave you that money because he knew I could make my own way. Because unlike you, I don't need handouts to succeed. You ungrateful little... Tate lurched forward, but Nelson, our family friend and business mentor, appeared between us. That's enough, Nelson said, his calm authority filling the space. Tate, your car's outside. My driver will take you home. I don't need... Yes, you do. Nelson's tone left no room for argument. Go home. Sleep it off. We'll discuss solutions tomorrow. After Tate stumbled out, Nelson turned to me. You okay? No. I stared into my untouched coffee. He's going to destroy everything Dad built. The company, our reputation, all of it. Then don't let him. I looked up, catching the glint in Nelson's eye. What do you mean? Your father may have given Tate the trust fund, but he left you something more valuable, brains and determination. Use them. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Please fix this, Faith. He's all we have left of your father. I deleted the message without responding. Mom was wrong. We had so much more of Dad left. His company, his values, his real legacy. And I would protect them, even if it meant protecting them from my own brother. Nelson, I said, straightening my spine, I need your help with something. He smiled, that knowing smile that had guided me through countless business decisions. I thought you'd never ask. As we left the bar, I caught my reflection in the window. I saw what Tate never had. Dad's steel in my eyes, his determination in my jaw. Tate might have gotten his money, but I got his spirit. And tomorrow, I would start using it. Your brother owes me $500,000, Malik said, sliding a folder across my desk. And that's just the beginning. I hadn't slept since the bar incident, spending the night digging through company records. Now, at 9 a.m., Tate's childhood friend sat across from me, looking more like a shark than the goofy kid I remembered from high school. Why are you showing me this? I asked, though I already knew. Malik hadn't become one of the city's most successful venture capitalists by being charitable. Because I respect you, Faith, unlike your brother. He leaned forward. Did you know he's been using company contracts as collateral? My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. What? Check page 3. The documents blurred before my eyes. Forged signatures, falsified contracts, all with the company letterhead. My hands shook as I reached for my phone. "Don't call him," Malik said. "Not yet. I have a proposition." "I'm listening." "Help me acquire controlling interest in Richardson Enterprises. In return, I'll bury these documents and handle Tate's debt quietly." Before I could respond, my office door burst open. Kayla, my legal advisor and closest friend, stormed in with her tablet. "Faith, we have a situation." "Oh." She stopped short, eyeing Malik. "I didn't realize you had company." "Perfect timing," I said. Malik was just leaving. He stood, straightening his tie. "Think about what I said, Faith. The offer expires in 48 hours. After he left, Kayla locked the door. "Please tell me you're not considering whatever he's offering." "Of course not." I handed her the folder. "But this changes everything." Kayla's eyes widened as she scanned the documents. "These contracts, if the board sees these?" "Exactly." I pulled up the company's shareholder registry on my computer. "How much stock does Tate still own?" After his latest selling spree, less than 15%. Kayla's fingers flew across her tablet. "Most of it's been bought up by small investment firms, almost like someone's been deliberately keeping it under the radar," I finished. "Pull up those firms' registration details." Hours later, we had our answer. Malik had been quietly accumulating shares through shell companies, positioning himself for a hostile takeover. My phone buzzed. Nelson requesting an urgent meeting. 20 minutes later, we sat in his private office overlooking the city. "You've figured it out," he said, not a question. "You knew?" "I suspected. Malik's been making moves for months." Nelson poured 3 fingers of scotch. "The question is, what are you going to do about it?" I took the glass but didn't drink. "How much capital can we access without board approval?" "Enough." Nelson's eyes sparkled. "But you'll need a better plan than just buying shares." "I already have one." I pulled out my phone, showing them the message I'd drafted. "Kayla, how fast can you set up a blind trust?" She smiled. "Give me an hour." "Good. Because tonight we're going to give my dear brother exactly what he wants, a chance to sell his remaining shares for quick cash." "Through your trust," Kayla caught on. "He'll never know it's you buying. And once I control his shares..." I finally took a sip of scotch, letting it burn. "We can expose Malik's shell game to the board." My phone rang, Tate's name flashing on the screen. I sent it to voicemail. "He's getting desperate," Nelson warned. "Desperate people do stupid things." "I'm counting on it." I stood, gathering my things. "Set up the trust, Kayla. Nelson, I need you to..." A text message stopped me cold. "Hey sis, remember that Christmas party incident 5 years ago? The one that could ruin your reputation? Meet me at the Grand tonight, or the board gets an interesting video." Kayla caught my expression. "Faith, what's wrong?" I showed them the message. Nelson cursed under his breath. "He's bluffing," Kayla said. "He has to be." But I remembered that night. The argument, the security cameras, the things I'd said in anger, things that, taken out of context, could destroy everything I'd built. "Change of plans," I said, grabbing my coat. "Kayla, proceed with the trust. Nelson, get me everything you can on the Grand security system from 5 years ago. And both of you, clear your schedules for tonight." "What are you going to do?" Nelson asked. I paused at the door, Dad's steel returning to my spine. "I'm going to give my brother one last chance to do the right thing, and when he doesn't, I'm going to take everything." The elevator doors closed on their worried faces. In the polished metal, my reflection showed something new. Not just Dad's determination, but Mom's cunning. Tate wasn't the only one who could play dirty. He just wasn't as good at it. The Grand Casino loomed before me, its gilt-edged doors reflecting the setting sun. Security cameras tracked my movement, just like they had 5 years ago, the night of the Christmas party, the night I'd lost control. "You're wired." Kayla's voice crackled in my earpiece. "Every word gets recorded." "And I've got eyes on the security office," Nelson added. "No unusual activity yet." I smoothed my blazer and stepped inside. The casino floor sparkled with false promises, the same ones that had seduced my brother time and time again. Tate sat at the high-stakes poker table, exactly where I knew he'd be. "Faith." He waved me over, grinning like this was just another family dinner. "Join us. This is Marcus. He owns a chain of hotels in Vegas." "I'll pass." I gripped his arm. We need to talk. Now. In a private booth away from the tables, Tate's smile disappeared. Did you bring what I asked for? You mean a blank check from the company account? No. Then I guess the board will be very interested in seeing that video from the Christmas party. He pulled out his phone. You really lost it that night, sis. Screaming about how Dad never loved you, how you'd destroy the company just to spite him. I was drunk and grieving. Dad had died 3 months before. Think the board will care about context? He turned the phone toward me. Look familiar? The video played. Me, mascara streaked, shoving past security guards. I'll burn it all down. My recorded voice shrieked. Is that what you wanted, Dad? Is this enough attention for you? Stop. My hands clenched under the table. Transfer $5 million to my account by midnight or this goes viral. Tate pocketed his phone. Oh, and I'll need controlling interest in the Pacific merger. The merger? That's worth $50 million minimum. He signaled a waitress. Bourbon. Neat. Faith? Nothing for me. I stood up. You'll have your answer by midnight. That's my responsible little sister. He raised his fresh drink. Always cleaning up my messes. Outside the booth, I pressed my earpiece. Did you get all that? Every word, Kayla confirmed. The trust is ready. Should I proceed with the share purchase? Not yet. I watched Tate return to the poker table. Nelson, what did you find? The casino's had 3 security system upgrades since that Christmas party. Their old footage is stored on Faith. A familiar voice cut through the casino noise. Malik approached, looking too pleased with himself. Fancy meeting you here? Save it. I turned to leave, but his next words stopped me. Your brother's not the only one with videos from that night. I faced him slowly. What? Did you really think casino security only had one angle? He stepped closer, voice low. I've got the footage showing exactly what started your little meltdown. The board wouldn't just fire you, they'd press charges. What do you want? The same thing I wanted this morning. Sign over your shares and all copies of all videos disappear forever. A memory flashed. Dad's voice during my first crisis negotiation. When they think they have you cornered, that's when you're most dangerous. You have until midnight, I told Malik, just like Tate. Back in my car, I killed the earpiece and called the one person who could end this. Mom, I need you to meet me. Now. 30 minutes later, we sat in her kitchen, the same table where we'd had Sunday dinners for 30 years. I remember that night, Mom said, stirring her tea. You were so angry, but not at your father. Not really. I was angry at Tate. He'd just sold Dad's boat, the one we all restored together the summer before he got sick. And now he's using that night against you. She reached for my hand. Faith, honey, what aren't you telling me? I took a deep breath. Before I lost it at the party, Tate and I had an argument in the casino office. He admitted something about Dad's will. What about it? He convinced Dad to change it, Mom. 3 days before he died, when Dad was on heavy medication. That's why Tate got the trust fund. He manipulated Dad when he was too weak to resist. Mom's cup clattered against its saucer. How do you know? Because the casino cameras caught everything. Malik has the footage, the real footage, of Tate confessing it all. And now they're both blackmailing you? Mom's voice hardened. What do you need me to do? I pulled out my phone, showing her the trust documents Kayla had prepared. I need you to sign these. As Dad's widow, you still own 10% of the company. With your shares plus what we can buy from Tate, we can take control. Mom grabbed a pen. Do it. End this. As she signed, I sent 2 texts. To Kayla, start buying, use everything we have. To Nelson, call the board, emergency meeting at midnight. The game was changing. Tate thought he was playing poker. I was playing chess. You have no idea what you're doing, Tate snarled, bursting into my office at 11:30 p.m. The board meeting, calling in all the shareholders? Are you trying to destroy us? I didn't look up from my computer. Us? There hasn't been an us since you manipulated Dad on his deathbed. That video proves nothing. We'll let the board decide that. I finally met his eyes. By the way, how's the poker game going? Still up, or did you lose the last of your shares? His face paled. How did you know about the shares? The same way I know about the forged contracts you used as collateral. The same way I know about Malik's shell companies. I stood, smoothing my skirt. The same way I know you've been selling to anyone who'll buy, desperate for cash. You don't understand. He stepped closer, desperation cracking his voice. I had a system. It was foolproof. Like the yacht scheme? Or the crypto investment? Or maybe like convincing our dying father to change his will? The door opened. Kayla entered, tablet in hand. Faith, we're ready. The board's assembling in the main conference room. Don't do this. Tate grabbed my arm. I'm your brother. I jerked away. You stopped being my brother the moment you betrayed Dad's trust. The conference room buzzed with tension. Board members whispered among themselves while Malik sat in the corner, smirking. Mom took her seat at the head of the table, her face set in granite. Before we begin, Malik stood, I have some footage the board should see regarding Ms. Richardson's stability and fitness to— Sit down, Nelson cut in, sliding a document across the table. Or should we discuss the SEC's interest in your recent stock acquisitions? Malik's smirk faltered. What are you talking about? Shell companies? I clicked my presentation remote. The screen filled with transaction records. Really, Malik? Did you think we wouldn't notice the pattern? This is ridiculous, Tate interrupted. We're here about Faith's mental breakdown, not— Actually, Kayla stepped forward, we're here about this. She played the casino security footage. The room fell silent as Tate's recorded voice filled the air. It was so easy. Dad was so doped up on painkillers he would have signed anything. The old man never appreciated me anyway. Turn it off. Tate lunged for the controls, but security blocked his path. That's not all, I continued. Mom, would you like to tell them what you discovered about the trust fund? Mom's voice cut through the chaos. My husband's signature on the amended will? It's forged. I had it analyzed by 3 experts. The board erupted. Malik jumped up, pointing at me. What about her breakdown? The threats to destroy the company? You mean this? I played the full casino footage from that night. The camera showed Tate's confession, my shock, the argument that led to my emotional outburst. The context changes everything, doesn't it? Nelson addressed the board. Now, about the current shareholding structure. Kayla distributed new documents. As of 10 minutes ago, Faith controls 52% of the company. This includes Mrs. Richardson's shares, the stock repurchased from Mr. Richardson's recent sales, and the shares we've acquired through legitimate channels. Impossible, Malik sputtered. The trust was dissolved an hour ago, I finished. You were so busy trying to blackmail me, you missed the real play. Tate slumped in his chair. Faith, please. Security will escort you both out, I said. The police want to discuss those forged contracts, Tate. And Malik, the SEC has some questions about your creative accounting. As they were led away, Tate turned back. I'm still your brother. You can't do this to family. Family? I walked up to him. Family doesn't manipulate dying fathers. Family doesn't blackmail sisters. Family doesn't destroy legacies for a gambling fix. What are you going to do? His voice cracked. Turn me in? Let them lock me up. I thought of Dad, of his final days, of the trust he'd placed in both of us. No, Tate, I'm going to do something worse. I'm going to let you live with what you've done. The board sat in stunned silence as security led them out. Mom squeezed my hand, tears in her eyes. Faith, Nelson cleared his throat. The board needs to vote on the new leadership structure. I straightened my spine, facing the room full of shocked faces. The same people who'd always seen me as Tate's little sister, the responsible one, the safe choice. They weren't seeing that anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, taking my place at the head of the table, let's talk about the future of this company. Behind me, through the wall of windows, the city lights sparkled like casino chips. But this wasn't a gamble. This was justice. He's selling secrets to your competitors, Kayla announced, dropping a thick folder on my desk. 1 week had passed since the board meeting, and the aftershocks kept coming. Which ones? I asked, already dreading the answer. All of them. Malik's been busy since we exposed him. He's offering insider information to anyone willing to pay. I flipped through the documents, email printouts, meeting recordings, bank transfers. How did you get these? Remember Tommy from IT? Turns out Malik wasn't as careful with his password security as he should have been. My office phone buzzed. Ms. Richardson, your mother is here with, your brother's wife. I nearly choked on my coffee. Sandra's back? The door opened before I could respond. Sandra stormed in, designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor, Mom trailing behind her with an apologetic look. Where is he? Sandra demanded. I cut my European tour short because apparently my husband's been gambling away our future? Sit down, Sandra. I gestured to the chair. There's a lot you need to know. Over the next hour, we laid it all out. The gambling, the fraud, the blackmail. Sandra's perfectly maintained facade cracked with each revelation. The house? She whispered. He mortgaged our house? 3 months ago, Kayla confirmed. The bank's foreclosing next week. Sandra's laugh was hollow. Well, that explains why he kept pushing me to extend my tour. I suppose the joint accounts are empty too. Mom reached for her hand. You can stay with me as long as you need. My phone buzzed again. Nelson this time? Faith, turn on the financial news. Now. The wall-mounted TV flickered to life, showing Malik at a press conference. Serious concerns about Richardson Enterprises' stability under its new leadership. My sources indicate widespread mismanagement and potential fraud. That snake, Kayla hissed. He's trying to tank our stock price. Faith. Sandra sat up straighter, makeup smeared but eyes sharp. Tate kept records of everything, said it was his insurance policy. Where? Hidden safe in our home office, behind the terrible painting of dogs playing poker. She pulled out her house keys. Want to go treasure hunting? An hour later, we stood in Tate's study, staring at an open safe full of documents. This is... Kayla shuffled through papers. Faith, this is everything. Malik's original blackmail scheme, offshore accounts, proof of market manipulation. Look at this. Sandra held up a USB drive. It's labeled Malik Insurance. My phone rang. Malik's number. I put it on speaker. Enjoying the press coverage? He asked, smug. Just wait until tomorrow's revelations. Unless what? Meet me at the Grand. 1 hour. Come alone and bring the ownership transfer papers. I'll make the stories go away. I caught Kayla's eye. She nodded, already typing on her tablet. 1 hour, I agreed. And Malik, bring your checkbook. The Grand's private room felt smaller this time. Malik waited with 2 glasses of champagne. No celebration needed, I said, sitting down. Let's finish this. The papers? I slid a folder across the table. Your turn. Call off the press. He smiled, reaching for the folder. You know, your brother was right about one thing. You're too responsible for your own good. Always playing it safe, always... Following the rules, I pulled out my phone, playing a video from Tate's USB drive. Malik's face drained of color as he watched himself detailing his entire market manipulation scheme. Where did you... My brother might be a gambling addict, but he's not stupid. He kept receipts. I stood up. The SEC has copies. So does every major financial news outlet. They're running it tomorrow morning. You're bluffing. Check your phone. He did. His hands shook as he read the breaking news alerts. This will destroy everything. Like you tried to destroy my company? I gathered my things. The papers in that folder, they're blank, just like your threats. Wait, he grabbed my arm. We can make a deal. I have other videos, other proof. No, Malik, you don't. Not anymore. I nodded to the door where security waited. But I do. Later that night, Mom, Sandra, Kayla, and I sat in my office, watching Malik's perp walk on the news. What happens now? Sandra asked, nursing a glass of wine. Now? I looked at the photo of Dad on my desk. Now we rebuild. The right way. And Tate? He'll face consequences, Mom said firmly. But maybe, finally, he'll get the help he needs. My phone buzzed with a text from Nelson. Board approved the restructuring plan. It's really your company now. I smiled, remembering Dad's words. Take care of each other. We would, just not in the way anyone expected. Ladies, I raised my glass. To karma. To karma, they echoed, as outside my window, the city lights burned brighter than any casino's promises. He's asking to see you, Mom said, her voice tired through the phone. 3 weeks had passed since Malik's arrest, and Tate had finally agreed to enter rehab. The doctors say it might help with his recovery. I stared at the quarterly reports spread across my desk. I'm busy. Faith? Mom paused. He's different. The withdrawal, the therapy, he's not the same person who tried to blackmail you. That's what you said last time, and the time before that. Just think about it. After hanging up, I buzzed Kayla into my office. She arrived with Sandra in tow, both carrying stacks of files. The auditors found more shell companies, Sandra announced, dropping the files on my desk. Looks like my dear husband was busier than we thought. How bad? Bad enough to keep the lawyers happy for years, Kayla said, but that's not why we're here. Show her, Sandra. Sandra pulled out a weathered envelope. Found this in Tate's old college trunk. It's from your father. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter, dated 3 days before Dad died, the same day Tate had him change the will. Dear Faith, it began, if you're reading this, something's gone wrong. I never wanted to put this burden on you, but Tate, he's not well. He showed me proof that he could destroy the company if I didn't change the will. Said he'd expose every mistake I'd ever made. I'm too weak to fight him, but you're stronger than I ever was. The safe in my study. The combination is your birthday. What you find there will protect everything we built. I'm sorry. I love you both. Dad. The safe? I looked up. We cleared that out years ago. The visible safe, yes, Sandra smiled. But your brother mentioned another one once when he was drunk, behind the wooden panels. An hour later, we stood in Dad's old study, now my private office. Nelson supervised as maintenance removed the panels, revealing a small wall safe. Your birthday, Nelson reminded me. The safe clicked open. Inside lay a single USB drive and a stack of papers. Oh my God, Kayla breathed, scanning the documents. These are the original contracts. All the deals Tate claimed were his, they were your father's. The entire expansion plan was Dad's legacy, I finished, not Tate's genius investments. Faith. Nelson pointed to his tablet. The stock price just jumped 15%. Word's getting out about the original contracts. My phone buzzed. The rehab center. I almost declined, but remembered Mom's words. Mr. Richardson has been asking for you, the nurse said. He seems quite agitated. Tell him I'll be there in an hour. The rehab center smelled of disinfectant and despair. Tate sat in the visitor's room, looking smaller without his designer suits and swagger. You found it, he said as I sat down. Dad's safe. You knew? Of course I knew. Why do you think I never touched those contracts? Never claimed credit for them? He rubbed his face. I couldn't tarnish them like I tarnished everything else. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm tired, Faith. Tired of pretending to be something I'm not. Dad knew I wasn't cut out for the business. That's why he left those contracts for you to find. But you still blackmailed him, still forced him to change the will. I was high, his voice cracked, had lost millions that week, thought I could fix everything if I just had control of the money. By the time I sobered up, he was gone. A nurse appeared with medication. After she left, Tate spoke again. The therapy, it's making me see things clearly for the first time. How I hurt everyone, how I hurt you. Save it, I stood up. I'm not here for apologies. Then why are you here? I pulled out a document. Sign this. It's a formal resignation from the board and a relinquishment of any future claims on the company. And if I don't, then I release everything. The forged contracts, the gambling debts, the blackmail. Your choice. He picked up the pen, hands trembling. Will you tell Mom I'm sorry? Tell her yourself, when you're actually sorry. Back at the office, Kayla waited with news. The board approved your proposal. The company's officially being restructured under your full control. And Malik? Singing like a canary to reduce his sentence. His testimony will keep Tate out of jail, but his reputation's finished. I looked at Dad's photo, then at the contracts that proved his true legacy. Schedule a press conference for tomorrow. It's time to tell the real story. The whole story? Every bit of it. I smiled. Dad always said the truth has a way of setting things right. Outside, the sun set on the city skyline, painting the windows gold. Not casino gold, real gold, earned through hard work and honest deals, just like Dad would have wanted. 6 months sober, Tate announced at the family dinner table, his sobriety chip glinting under Mom's chandelier. The doctors say I can leave rehab next week. Mom beamed, passing the potatoes. That's wonderful, honey, isn't it, Faith? I pushed food around my plate. Great, where will you go? Actually, Sandra spoke up, we've been talking about that. I'm selling the house, moving to Seattle to start fresh. I repeated. You're going with him. Sandra reached for Tate's hand. People can change, Faith. I've seen it these past months. Right, like they changed the last 3 times? Faith, Mom warned. No, she's right, Tate said quietly. I haven't earned anyone's trust yet. That's why I wanted everyone here tonight. He pulled out an envelope. This is for you, Faith. Inside was a handwritten confession, detailing every scheme, every manipulation, every lie he'd told over the years. It was notarized. What am I supposed to do with this? Whatever you want, use it, publish it, burn it. I just needed you to have the truth, all of it. My phone buzzed. Kayla's emergency tone? Excuse me. In the kitchen, Kayla's voice was urgent. Turn on the news, now. I flipped on Mom's small TV just in time to see Malik being led into court. The crawler below read, Former executive pleads guilty, names accomplices in market manipulation scheme. He's naming names, Kayla said. Big names, board members, investors, everyone who helped him try to take over the company. Our board members? 3 of them. They're resigning tomorrow morning. Faith, this is your chance to reshape everything. I glanced back at the dining room, where Tate sat subdued, Sandra protective beside him. Send me the list of names, and get Nelson on the phone. Already done. He says you need to make a statement tonight. The market's open in Hong Kong in 4 hours. Back at the table, Mom was serving dessert. Everything okay, honey? No. I set my phone down. Malik just took a plea deal. He's exposing everyone involved in the takeover attempt. Tate's fork clattered. Faith, I swear I didn't. I know. You were too busy gambling to be part of his scheme. I stood up. I have to go. There's a press conference. Wait. Tate followed me to the door. Let me help. Help? How could you possibly help? Because I know things. Things Malik told me when he thought I was too drunk to remember. Names, dates, meetings that weren't in any official records. And why would you share those? Because it's the right thing to do. He met my eyes. Because Dad would want me to. An hour later, we sat in my office with Nelson and Kayla. Tate's information spread across the desk. This is gold, Nelson said, reviewing the notes. With this, we can clean house completely. No one who tried to hurt the company gets away clean. But we need to move fast, Kayla added, before they can hide their tracks. I looked at Tate. If we use this, there's no going back. These people will know it came from you. Good. His voice was firm. Let them know. I'm done hiding. The press conference room filled quickly. Camera lights blazed as I took the podium, Tate standing quietly to the side. 6 months ago, this company faced an attempted hostile takeover, I began. Tonight, we learned the full scope of that attempt, and tonight, we're taking action. For the next hour, we laid it all out. The corruption, the manipulation, the betrayal. With each revelation, reporters' fingers flew faster over their keyboards. And finally, I said, I want to acknowledge someone who helped expose this scheme, someone who chose truth over self-preservation. I gestured to Tate, my brother. The questions exploded. Mr. Richardson, why come forward now? Ms. Richardson, can the company survive this scandal? Will there be criminal charges? The company will not only survive, I answered. It will emerge stronger, cleaner, more honest, just like my father always intended. Later, as security cleared the building, Tate lingered in my office. That was unexpected, the acknowledgement. Don't let it go to your head. I gathered my things. You're still not getting your shares back. I know. He smiled slightly. But maybe someday I'll earn something better back. Trust. As he turned to leave, I called out, Tate, Seattle's good. Far enough to start fresh, close enough to stay in touch. Yeah? Yeah, just stay sober this time. I will. He paused at the door. You know, Dad would be proud, not of what I did, but of what you built from it. After he left, I sat at my desk, looking at Dad's photo. The company wasn't just surviving, it was transforming. And maybe, just maybe, my family was too. Sometimes karma doesn't just punish. Sometimes it heals. Sign here. Kayla pushed the final document across my desk. And the last of Malik's assets transferred to the Victim Compensation Fund. Through my office window, autumn painted the city in gold and red, the same colors as the Grand's neon signs, though I hadn't set foot in that casino since the night everything changed. Done. I capped my pen. How much did we recover? Enough to repay everyone he defrauded, including this. She handed me a check. Tate's original trust fund amount. What do you want to do with it? Before I could answer, Mom burst in, waving her tablet. Have you seen this? Your brother's interview? The business news site showed Tate, looking healthy and clear-eyed, sitting in what looked like a Seattle coffee shop. The headline read, "From Wall Street to Main Street, former executive opens recovery center." He's using his story to help other addicts, Mom said proudly. The center opens next month. I studied the check in my hand. Kayla, can you set up a wire transfer and draft a press release? What are we announcing? The establishment of the Richardson Recovery Foundation. Starting funds, one trust fund, plus matching corporate contribution. Mom's eyes welled up. Faith? Don't cry, Mom. It's just good business. Imagine the PR. Company helps fund rehabilitation center started by reformed executive. My phone buzzed. Sandra sending a video call. I answered to find her and Tate in their new Seattle apartment. Did you see the interview? Sandra asked. Just now. Nice tie, Tate. Very reformed executive chic. He laughed. A real laugh. Not the bitter one I remembered. Listen, about the center. I was hoping. Would you consider being on the board? We need someone with actual business sense. I'll think about it. I held up the check. But first, we need to discuss the foundation. As I outlined the plan, his eyes widened. Faith, that money, you don't have to. I know. But Dad's legacy wasn't just about business. It was about family, about doing the right thing, even when it's hard. Speaking of family, Mom cut in, Thanksgiving's next week. Seattle's not that far. Actually, Sandra smiled, we were thinking of hosting, if everyone's willing to travel. I'll have to check my schedule, I said, but Kayla was already nodding. Your schedule's clear. I made sure of it. That evening, as the office emptied, Nelson stopped by. Just heard about the foundation. Your father would approve. Would he? Sometimes I wonder if we've changed too much, strayed too far from his vision. His vision. Nelson gestured at the wall of photos. Dad breaking ground on his first building, Mom cutting ribbons at charity events, even one of Tate and me as kids, playing in his office. His vision was never just about business. Look, he pointed to the company's original mission statement, framed beside Dad's photo. Building futures, strengthening families, creating legacy. We're doing all three, Nelson continued, just not in the way anyone expected. My phone chimed with a text from Tate. Found Dad's old poker chips while unpacking. Remember how he taught us to play? Not about gambling, he said. About reading people, understanding stakes. I smiled, typing back, and knowing when to fold. And when to go all in, he replied. Thank you, sis, for not giving up on me. Later, standing at my office window, I watched the city lights flicker on. Not like casino lights, steadier, more permanent. Like the foundation we'd rebuilt, the legacy we'd reshaped, the family we'd restored. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Richardson, the board's waiting for the final quarter projections. Coming. I gathered my papers, catching my reflection in the window. Dad's determination in my eyes, Mom's compassion in my smile, and something entirely my own. The wisdom to know that sometimes the biggest wins come from knowing what to let go. My phone buzzed one last time. A group text from Sandra. Thanksgiving menu planning? Faith bringing that whiskey bread pudding? Mom, the one from your father's recipe? Me. Wouldn't be family dinner without it. Tate, save me from the health food Sandra's planning. Sandra, hey. I laughed, sliding my phone into my pocket. The board could wait one more minute. Opening Dad's old desk drawer, I pulled out a single poker chip, the one he'd given me on my first day at the company. Know when to hold 'em, he'd said, quoting that old song he loved. Know when to fold 'em. I finally understood. Sometimes winning isn't about the cards you're dealt. It's about how you play them. And we'd finally learned to play them right.